Well, hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of You Haven't Seen That Podcast. I'm Isaac.
I'm Alva.
And this is a show where we cover movies on that growing list of films that has people asking us the question, You haven't seen that? Intermissions edition. I always have to remember to say that it's intermission edition because we do full breakdowns. We've kind of strayed away from it a little bit. We're trying to reformat that. And so in case you're missing that, we haven't stopped doing it. That's just we brought some fun bite-sized episodes that we call intermissions. If you're not familiar with it, but where the hell have you been? And also, if you're not familiar, we're doing these things on TikTok Live because that's the world of the internet. And actually, I find this to be a ton of fun to do. And Alva, where can people find us if they want to watch us on TikTok Live? Not now, because you're listening in the future. But the TikTok Livers are watching now. They get the full benefit of what we look like. Ugh.
I believe it's on FREHED Films on Instagram and TikTok.
Scream it to the world, because that spells out Forehead Films.
What he said.
We got 3 movies to talk about today. Alva, please tell the people what 3 movies we're going to be talking about and in the exact order, because if we don't, people are going to get mad. Because we have to set up like the emotion.
So I'm going to say it?
Yeah.
I'm going to say it?
Yes.
Okay.
Go for it.
We Live in Time, Venom 3, and Smile 2.
Yeah.
That's it.
Running the gamut of all the emotions on this thing. Man, we talked about the trailer to a lot of these things, and the one where I was like, we have to go see it is We Live in Time, because we knew that we were going to be crying. We knew that it was going to be emotional. And like, it was kind of nice after having seen all these horror films, after watching Terrifier 3, after watching Smile 2, our emotions were going all over the place. So I think we're kind of emotionally exhausted after this whole week. And once Halloween's over, I think we'll take like a nice long nap.
Good riddance, yeah.
So let's get into our emotional movie, We Live in Time, starring
Andrew Garfield.
And
Florence
Florence Pugh. Florence Pugh. No. I love both of these actors, by the way. Do you have a favorite film of any of theirs? Because I'll tell you right off the hand, this is now my favorite Florence Pugh and Andrew Garfield film.
I don't think so.
Okay, I got to stop asking you questions to start like pondering a little too hard, and I can smell your hair burning.
Yeah, thanks. It's because I'm tired from all these movies.
Jump into it. Let's talk about it. So when we talked, when we not broke down the trailer, but when we talked about the trailer and actually gave our reaction, we looked into it and we were like, oh God, it's going to jump timeline in these people's lives. And like from the synopsis of the breakdown, it was like cancer diagnosis. We're like, oh great, we're going to cry.
Is it? That's how it goes.
And so it opens exactly like that. Go ahead, tell them about it.
Well, we went in a little bit late to the movie, first of all, because that's on brand. The other part is, so went in right away. First thing that we saw was her getting her cancer diagnosis. And just that emotion, the lack of sound with that scene, it's what made it more impactful with what they were feeling, but also how she handled that diagnosis. Because later on, we find out that it's not the first time with this diagnosis. Yeah. Now,
there's going to be some spoilers here and there because, like, in order to talk about some of the aspects of this movie, I don't necessarily say we're going to fully spoil it or anything like that, but, like, there's just some things to talk about. Because ultimately, I want people to watch this movie. It's in the description, it says it's a romance comedy. Entirely subjective, really. Would you
comedy to what? To my feelings, my emotions, my tears?
I don't see it as a romance comedy.
It's a romance for sure.
They say that comedy is tragedy with time plus time. I guess so.
I mean, they did have a little bit of like comedic moments within the whole movie, but I think the crying took over that with tragedy.
So overall, this movie is it an A24 film. This movie it sets the tone, and it stays with it, and it doesn't step away from it in any way. And the tone is like
melancholy.
That's a great way to describe it. There's these moments where you are happy. Okay, so it jumps around in the timeline, right? From when they met and where they are, towards the end. And when it jumps back and forth, there is that juxtaposition emotional jarring. Man, like I'm at a loss of words because it's like when we were talking about it when we were driving home, we were holding back tears. Like that's how the movie ended. That's how it got us. And I was like, oh my God. So it has this tone, and it's melancholic. Is that even a word? It's very melancholic.
You're the guy with the words.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Trying to get caffeinated here. It felt real. That's another way to, like, yes, it's a drama, and yes, it's a comedy or whatever, and a tragedy. But the way that these two actors portray their roles, their respective roles, it's not overacted. There's not these big, argument scenes, and nothing's like overly done when it comes to like the sweet romantic moments, maybe here or there. But, it's, as a married couple, like we've been together for about 10 years, and there's dialogue in the movie, and it's very important to, some things progressing. But when they're just being themselves, the couple together, and they're just living their life and they're not having their arguments and needing to talk about it, there's these little things that I realize that couples do. Like couples don't talk usually. They just like give a look, a smirk, a little eye waggle, or something like that. And that was done throughout the whole movie. And I go, wow, it feels like it feels very real. Like there was tangible chemistry between the two in more ways than one. It got a little steamy. It was lovely. It was a very lovely film.
It was less of a fantasy romance, like The Notebook is, where it's a happy thing, or any other of those rom-com movies where it's all happy. Oh my God, I found them, or whatever. This is more like actually realistic.
You know why too? Because in all of those other films, especially The Notebook, it's like these aren't toxic people. Yes, I'm saying on record, I think that the couple in The Notebook are fucking toxic as hell. Rewatch the movie, okay? It's because these people are when their particular again, they're jumping around timelines, but in their particular meeting of one another, where they are in their own life, they're in their own like personal turmoil and stuff like that. So they're not exactly searching for love. It just they find each other, and it's done, and I would say like in an organic way, where they don't need to be with one another, but they just happen to find each other. Kind of go cheesy here, but not unlike me and you. We weren't looking for anybody, and we met. Thank you, Pearl. And we met, and I was like, yeah, all right, this chick is cool. I'll get her number, walk her home, put the moves on her, and after having coffee the next day, we were inseparable.
Yeah.
And it just clicked, and it made sense. That's how this movie feels. If you've been in love like that, that's how this movie feels. So it did a really good job in portraying that. Now, that's the love portion of it. This thing also attacks or deals with somebody having cancer in a very familiar way, because we've had family members who were diagnosed with it. We've lost some family members due to the big C. And what I've never dealt with personally is like what she's dealing with, which is she got diagnosed once, got through it, got diagnosed again. And that's where you are in the second part of the timeline, the later part of the timeline, is them dealing with like, are we going to fight it? Are we not? Where do we go from here?
Mm-hmm. I think the first time it had to be her dealing with like whether to never like remove everything and never have it again.
Oh, that's right. Ovarian cancer.
Yeah. Like remove everything and you're good. You're never going to have it again, and lose a chance of having a family, or just removing half of everything and still having that possibility of you having a family with the chance of it coming back.
That's scary. That's a massive decision. And you know, Elva's never, fortunately, knock on wood, has never had to deal with the big C. But you know, we've dealt with reproductive issues, and there's just so many parts in this movie that where I'm like, but I will say, I thought that they were gonna tug with the heartstrings with the tragic moments, and that's like a quarter of it. The rest of it, I will say for half of the movie, I let it go. I'm just silent crying and enjoying it because, again, melancholy. You're crying with these happy moments. These happy moments that happen to be surrounding some tragic stuff, because that's just how life works. I'm not gonna go,
But I think from the beginning, from when we walked into the movie and it was her making the choice of either getting treatment or not getting treatment, she even said it like, would you rather have me go through all this and have 6 months of
really shitty 6 months?
Yeah, or 6 months of happiness.
Yeah.
And I think that was the whole point of it, where it was kind of not in your face telling you how the movie was going to be and what they were going to choose, but it heavily leaned on the happiness part.
Yeah. No, that's actually a great point, because I think the title, We Live in Time, is very poignant on, in certain parts of the movie, them having to deal with some past stuff, them worrying about the future, and ultimately, like, one of the many messages just is living in the present. Like, that was one of the biggest things I got from that, just living in the present. The people who you hold close and dear, no matter, what's going on, especially if they're not toxic people, hold them close, spend some time with one another. Man, again, it's emotional. It's soppy. When we were talking about on the drive home, I was like, that one part, hold on. Okay, so when they did the thing,
voice cracking the whole time trying to explain everything. I was like, forget it.
Yeah, it was towards the end. There was this bit of symbolism that I thought was done very well. It didn't end with sadness. It was this overall acceptance of what was going on, and this heavy symbolic thing connecting their early part of the storyline to the current part of the storyline. And once it all clicked, when I got it, I was like, oh dear God, how fucking dare you?
Me? Because I clicked it for you?
No, all of it, both of it. Like we both kind of like connected the pieces together, and man, very good. It's a very good movie. Again, I don't want to spoil too much of it, but even if you're not a rom-com or tragedy, whatever kind of person, this thing lives. It's in this kind of grounded middle ground, if you will.
Oh, and how they go back in time and to present. It's not much. They did it so well.
It's not jarring. I kind of chuckled at it because I go, oh. They indicate that they're in the past because she has bangs. Moving on. But that's all you needed.
Yeah.
You didn't need like a, you didn't need any kind of like fade out. It was very like boom, boom, next cut. She has bangs. I get it. We're in the past. And let's now go forward with that timeline. It was lovely. It was a very lovely movie. It didn't leave you feeling bad. It left you thinking about life, and it's like the next day I was just very like not emotionally drained, but just like I'm worrying about too much.
You're very attached.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Duh. So again, even if you're not into these types of movies, I highly suggest that you check it out. It was very lovely.
And I can see why Andrew Garfield wanted to return back into acting after this movie.
Can I say I loved his character? His character wasn't bombastic or nothing like that. He's like this, over-worrying neat freak, but it doesn't like get in the way of the stuff. They have this understanding of one another. They're kind of like opposite people, but they have this overall understanding, and they let each other just be. And I fucking love that. His acting was very minimal, but it was so big. I wanted to hug him. I wanted to hug his character so fucking much. I think I'm in love with Andrew Garfield.
I wouldn't doubt it.
So yeah, check. Please do yourself a favor. If you're one of those people like Mal in our last episode, where if you're watching horror film, you have to watch like a comedy afterwards.
Or yeah,
maybe this is one of those things. Although it's not a comedy, so whatever. It'd be an emotional roller coaster. Do what you will.
Your mom said she loves The Notebook and she cries every time she watches it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Emotional damage.
He's also an awesome Spider-Man.
You know what, Carlos? To that, and this is just for the live stream. When Andrew Garfield reprised his role as Peter Parker and he saved our contemporary MJ, and we knew, and it was that same diving move and everything, and he saved her, and he looks at her, and like he has the tears in his eye. Like that guy is just so amazingly emotional, and God, I want to see him in more roles. I know he's been in some other films that I never got around to seeing, in some series, but he's amazing. I hope he continues acting. And Florence Pugh.
Yeah, well, we saw, was it Tick Tick Boom?
Tick Tick Boom, yeah.
Yeah.
Tick Tick Boom was amazing. True story. All right, so all that for this happiness. Okay, let's now move on into a more like unrealistic world. Venom 3.
Dun, dun, dun.
Venom, The Last Dance, starring Tom Hardy. What were your thoughts going into this, darling?
My thoughts were, I didn't have enough thoughts for this movie because I didn't know what it was going to be.
Yeah.
Because number 2 didn't do much of a good job on it.
No.
But just like every movie that has sequels and stuff, I need to watch the sequels just to see. And I kind of like this one better than 2. Don't hate me, but I like this one.
Nobody liked 2.
In a way, I almost like this one better than 1.
I can see that. I could see that.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so if nobody knows, like Venom 1 made over $1 billion. So in Hollywood, that means we're gonna crap out a bunch of these. And I don't know any of the logistics or whatever with like part 2, but golly, that first off, everyone really wanted a Venom movie. And how is Sony going to be doing these spin-offs, these Spider-Man villain spin-offs without a Spider-Man is beside me. And mostly these other ones really don't work. They're just like, you walk out of them going like, they're movies. And the first one was cool. You know, I think out of that expectations why he had like, it made $1 billion. Once it come to part 2, like how they treated Carnage and everything, it was just so very, very disjointed and silly. I mean, I love Tom. I think Tom Hardy's great in almost any role that he's in. And even in, like, he does the best that he can with this role as Eddie Brock and voicing Venom. Mm-hmm. So when we get around to The Last Dance, like, it immediately takes off. And you start getting into your adventure. And, it sets up, like, really big stakes to where...
How much of this are we spoiling?
Whatever. Whatever.
Okay, beginning picks up right after the after credit. There you go.
Oh, from Spider-Man.
Yeah. No, from Venom 2? Or was it Spider-Man?
Well, both of those.
Yeah, whatever. It ends up right there at the bar. In Mexico, in the bar. Amazing, because I forgot that happened in a bit. He loses a shoe, a croc. Just letting you guys know.
Actually,
yeah.
Well, okay, so for anyone who watched the after credit scene in Spider-Man, what is it, No Way Home, with the one with Doctor Strange, and you get that little after credit scene, with Tom Hardy, and he's in now an or whatever 616 universe, and he's asking, I forget his name, the bartender,
Crystal,
played by he's in Ted. Anyways, and he's talking about Thanos and everything like that by Crystal Fernandez.
Yeah,
and if you remember that after credit scene, he fades back into his universe. And there's a little bit of symbiote on the bar. And you're thinking, well, even though you thought, well, that's the way they're going to introduce Venom into the MCU, they retconned it. I'm just letting you know right now, if you're expecting any continuation from that, where it's going to go. Nope, they fucking retconned it. And that actually happens it happened in his universe, not the 616, even though in that after credits it did. But no, they just kind of tweaked the writing so that they don't have to deal with all that. Basically, I don't think we're ever going to get a fucking Venom in with the MCU with Tom Holland.
I don't think with Tom Holland, no.
Mm-mm. But, I mean, I love any bit with Tom Hardy and Venom. I love their relationship. It's very fun. Although I wasn't a huge fan of like Venom being very, very silly. And he had to get a dance number in there because, you got to have some fun with it. I didn't hate it that much. But there were so many other components about it that felt disjointed, like it felt like they had like the action scenes in mind and the Eddie Brock and Venom scenes in mind. And then they were like, shit, well, we have to fill it in with something. And then they did and set up like some of these other like secondary and tertiary characters with some background and some flashbacks. And you go, oh, this is going to mean something in the future. And it doesn't. It doesn't really pay off. Like, there are other characters that are actually tertiary characters that probably should have had more responsibility with like the secondary characters. And so it missed the mark on some of those parts, but I ultimately didn't hate the movie because it was so much. I mean, the bar was low with carnage. And we found ourselves like laughing and, like it tugged a little some heartstrings
I
here
was
and there.
still emotional from seeing We Live in Time. That there are some moments in this movie I'm just like, why am I getting teary-eyed? Oh, yeah, you have not healed that emotional bubble that you just opened 2 days ago from seeing We Live in Time. So here you go. And I'm just like,
well, especially that random line where Venom tells Eddie, because he's talking to like a kid, and he says something, this kid on this road trip is worrying, and he says something to the kid to make him calm down, and Venom goes, Eddie, you would have been a good father. I'm like, who was talking about him being a dad? Where the fuck did that come from?
You would make a good father.
Whatever the line is. Yeah. It was just random shit thrown together. Venom Horse was actually a really fucking cool scene. That was pretty fun. But
there are also other venom animals in this movie.
they played with that, some venom animals, and they did this whole thing where, like in Shazam, at the end of the first Shazam, where everybody gets powers, so everybody gets a venom, and you get a venom, and you get a venom.
Everyone gets, it's basically Oprah. Everyone gets venom. Or a symbiote, or whatever.
But when I did a little research on like the big bad, and Rudy can probably attest to this. I don't know how much he knows about Venom, and I know fucking close to nothing. But like the big bad, his name's Null, and he is basically like a Thanos level villain, and he is ultimately throughout the whole movie just a guy sitting in a chair. So
I could have played that role. I'm sitting in a chair right now.
So no threat. Like there was no. I didn't feel that major threat. And again, when I did a little more research about like that guy. He is such a big badass that he like cut the head off of the Titan, the big skull that the Guardians of the Galaxy basically live in. Like that's how badass he is, and he's just a dude sitting in a chair. That's it. That's it. You're looking for a codex, that's been done in the Justice League, and that's been done in what is it? Superman, the Man of Steel, right? With Zod. Zod's looking for a codex or whatever. It's like just so much stuff was like. Retcon or retrofitted just to make it work, just to like we need a MacGuffin, like all right, plat one in there. You're like, okay, but if you kind of like suspend your disbelief or whatever, and you just go in and you're just gonna have fun with it. You start picking some of the things apart, and you're like, how the fuck that happened? Why is that thing doing that thing?
Also, where do I sign up for this role of sitting in a chair not doing anything, and my hair and my face? And I barely even show like half my face while I'm there.
Well, you're almost there. Just put your hair in your face. Ding.
But like get paid for it.
I buy you food. I'm going to get you ice cream after this.
We're getting ice cream after this?
Always. We always get ice cream after our episode.
Oh, man. What do I want today?
So my suggestion is if you have absolutely nothing else to watch in theaters, yeah, go check it out. Go have fun with it. If you're not in a rush to go see it and going to see things in a theater is a bit too cumbersome and taxing, wait for it to stream. Just check it out streaming. It's fun enough to just stream it. So I haven't suggested a stream in a while, huh?
No, but
watch this per your discretion and take the kiddies. It's not that scary.
Yeah, no.
All right, let's end it with some scary stuff because we're still in the spooky season as of this recording. We are 5 days out from Halloween. 4 days out.
Count with your fingers. You need to borrow my hand.
Smile 2.
Jinx, you owe me a soda.
On the last episode, we gave like a little quick rundown, but let's break this down a little more. And let's try not to spoil anything because I actually really enjoy this one and want people to see it.
No, this is a really good one.
Most scariest movie? No. It's a creep. Okay, so let's talk about the tone. Even like from Smile 1 was very creepy, and it knew the formula of horror films, and it knew typically where people expected the jump scares to be, and it smartly hit that jump a beat early or a beat later, which I loved because it knew it, and it tried different things to scare you, again with sound design and camera movements and stuff. And this film in particular, it played with a lot of stuff where you think you're in a safe space, and then boom, it gets you.
Boom.
As far as the promotion for Smile 2, the thing about horror films and trailers, it's sometimes they show like all the good bits in the trailer, and they'll stick on it too much, or they'll keep replaying that moment. So when it finally pops up in a movie, you're like, well, I'm not creeped out by that moment because I saw it about a dozen times, which I've said it before. This is one of the reasons why we go to the movies at a very specific time where we're skipping the trailers. We're always watching the trailer. We've seen all the trailers, and this one was played in basically in every trailer.
Every movie was, it was either the last trailer or somehow we always ended up seeing this trailer every time we went to the movies.
Yeah. So I love Smile 1, and I thought, well, they're making a sequel. Where are they going to go with it? So I didn't know where they were going to go. And I'm no writer, so I never know where they're going to go with these things. And they did attempt to make it a continuation from the first one, following that storyline. If you know how that first one ends, but that certain person picks up with that, and it was interesting. And this movie this movie does a really cool thing. It has a lot of oneers, those like long unedited sequences, and it keeps you immersed. Because I hate the thing in horror films where they cut to a thing and cut back to a thing, and they cut back, and boom, there's a scare. It's very cheap. But they choreographed a lot of single shot sequences.
Yeah.
So anyways, the movie opens up with that, and then it's like so many years later, and then it's like, wait, how many people did it jump to? So like that whole first portion was like unnecessary. It just kind of like closed the loop on that one.
So then was that
right?
Okay, so now the beginning doesn't make sense to me anymore because now you pointed out something out because you're like so many years later.
Yeah, so it just it didn't need that first bit.
Now, was it so many years or so many months later? Because
honestly, it didn't matter.
Okay, yeah, yes. Anyways, it's a good movie. Just because you said it doesn't matter, but I think it does matter because how can that person go off with that thing doing its smile thing or whatever for years and that person not doing anything about it?
No, it wasn't about that one person doing it. It never showed who it jumped to next, and then the subsequent people that it jumped to.
Yeah, it did. The guy in the beginning who goes, I didn't know you were there. You weren't supposed to see it. It was
right. No. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that you never got to see that person, and then you never got to see who it jumped to after that. Because the rules of this movie is, 7 days, and then you die, and then the story jumped however far enough in time where you're so far from that opening sequence that it literally just didn't matter. Because as soon as our main character, played by Naomi Scott, who's like a Taylor Swift-esque character, is introduced, and then she's introduced to the smile curse or whatever, you're like, who the fuck is this guy? It's like it's her drug dealer. And then he never says how he got it. So you go, oh, that didn't fucking matter. Okay. It was just a way for them to open up the movie with a cool sequence. I think that was it. But it's fine. That doesn't take anything away from me. It's because once you get into the whole meat of the story, everything, I don't want to overuse the word organic, but again, Naomi Scott is amazing in this movie. Not just like her scares, but how they wrote her character, the things that she's dealing with that are feel very real. Not thankfully not familiar because I'm neither a drug addict or a very, very famous person. But this show will take off very soon. And how she is trying to avoid certain things, and it leads to her doubting herself. And this movie, compared to part one, is way more mental than the first one. Way more mental. I don't know if I've talked about this before, but what was interesting about the first movie, it was like, let's play with the dynamic of making a very sane person seem crazy. So that was like a kind of fun thing to play with. And this one was a departure from that, which is fine. And it's just like, let's make a really famous person freak the fuck out.
She gave me more Demi Lovato vibes.
Oh, big time. Big time.
Yeah.
Was there more to that?
Yeah, no, just because it dealt with her and addiction, and kind of like how she did something in the past where kind of she was already not looked at as much as an artist, and so she had to regain everyone's trust again to do all that all over again.
Big time. Big time. It plays with the whole momager thing. But again, other than like one really good, really well placed jump scare that had the whole theater going like, they get you, they got me. Other than that, the overall tone of this movie is just like creepy and unnerving and anxiety filled. And that's, again, thanks to Naomi Scott just being fucking super anxious throughout the entire movie. Man, I mean, she's kind of the new Scream Queen for me. Like, literally, like, screaming and yelling.
The way she played the role
fun.
so well.
It's so fun. I also wouldn't say that it was gory. There's, like, 1 or 2 scenes that I was like, sweet kill, nice.
Yeah, it's just it's more on the psychological part of it.
Yeah, totally.
But that one part, I will say, it's very hard to scare me in a movie and in person. And let me tell you, the whole theater, the whole row, we all jumped and we all probably did a little yelp.
Yeah.
And then I ended up looking at him and like, I am dumb for falling for that. And the thing was, that scene, in a way, I'm like, okay, I'm following the beats. Okay, and then bam, it got me. And I'm just like, how dare this? Okay, fine. You're on my list.
The other standout thing was, and this got a lot of like press attention. Jack Nicholson's son, Ray Nicholson, has a part in the movie, and it kind of got annoying. Like I felt bad for the guy because every person in the press junket was asking him the same thing. They're like, "So you did your father's creepy smile from The Shining, and did you feel like you were channeling him?" He goes, "No, I don't.
It's just our smile.
Yeah, it's just his smile. Like that's just his face, and it's for like a beat of the movie that I thought." Which was also shown in the trailer. Like, don't do that. Don't show a really cool part in the fucking trailer. But that's because this movie doesn't have a lot of those moments.
Yeah, and now I kind of realize why the trailer was like that, and I'm not going to bash the trailer anymore because it really got me now. How dare it? I'm still mad at it.
And because people were asking him, or so many people were talking, and he's involved with the press junkets, I thought he was going to have a bigger part. His part was interesting, but I wanted like a bigger impact with her life with it.
Oh, Ray.
Like their interaction between the two.
I felt like if there was more, it would take away from what she was dealing with. And I feel like what they showed was exactly her downfall and how now she's trying to like put all the pieces back together.
Yeah.
So I feel like if you were to involve him more, it would take away from him because basically he's haunting her even before she sees that death, that thing jumps to her.
Yeah.
So she's already being haunted by whatever that turmoil was. So I felt like I didn't really need to see more of him.
I like movies, especially I like horror films, where if you just take away the horror element, there's still a very strong storyline. And this movie had that. So you throw it in there and just amplifies it to be this kind of like different thing. It's a very entertaining movie. If you've run out of horror films to see for the Halloween spooky season, go see this one. This is I would say it's a blast.
I see you go check it out.
Yeah. So let's wrap this episode up. Our 3 movies once again, Elva.
We Live in Time, Venom 3, and Smile 2.
Really ran the emotional gamut on this one.
Yeah.
Okay, Rotten Tomatoes score. I'm the one that's going to be doing the guessing on a Rotten Tomatoes game.
Don't look at my screen.
Where the score is from 0 to 170 being fresh.
Yes.
All right, hit me with the first one.
We Live in Time. Hold on.
Okay, We Live in Time. My personal score for that movie, I would give it a 95%. I'm going to say that the critics gave it a 99%.
Okay.
And I'm going to say the audience gave it a 90%.
Okay. Critics gave it a 77%.
What?
Yeah.
Who are we going to bash again? Fuck those people, man.
I don't know.
I want Florence Pugh and or Andrew Garfield to win some fucking award. This movie needs to win some awards.
And then the other one was that the audience gave it 86.
Okay. Why? The critics gave it a low score.
Because they don't have any feelings, Isaac. They're soulless.
They've never been in love.
Yeah, that's the thing. They're just in the freaking room living in their basements and moms.
Sad sacks of shit.
Duh.
Next movie.
Okay, hold on. Still don't look at my screen.
Not looking.
Venom 3.
Venom. The Last Dance, Eddie.
This is the end. What is your score?
My personal score for Venom: The Last Dance is a 60. No, I'm going to give it barely fresh. I'm going to give it a 70%. But I'm going to say the critics gave it a 50, and I'll say audience gave it a 75.
Okay. Critics gave it a 37. And I get it. I feel them because
Totally.
yeah. But there's not many reviews for that one yet.
Really?
Yeah.
What did it make on opening weekend? But yeah, give me the audience
Like
score.
8 or 9.
Give me the audience score.
80%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can see the audience like loving it, just checking out and having fun with it. And then the last movie, Scream 2.
Smile 2.
Smile 2. It did well in the box office.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Smile 2, I personally give it an 80%. I think critics maybe gave it probably a 60%. And I think audience gave it maybe an 85.
Okay. Critics gave it an 84.
Oh, okay.
Audience gave it an 81.
Yeah. That feels about right. Mm-hmm. You know, like nothing was disjointed in that. Like Venom: Last Dance, there's so many things that were just like, no, just totally disjointed. And Smile 2, there was so much about it. Like I said, with the storyline and character development and overall character story arc, like was so good. You know, again, you take the horror element out of there, you're like, still a blast. And then We Live in Time. Fuck those critics, dude, for giving that such a low score. Yeah. Disregard those guys. All right, ready to wrap this episode?
Yes, I am.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for listening to another episode. Now we're 2 episodes into season 2? The second episode?
This is the second episode.
Second episode. Yeah. We did this for a whole year. This is cool.
Yay.
And again, check us out. Stay tuned to our TikTok and Instagram, our stories, for notifications when we're going to do the episodes live. You can find that at
FREHED Films.
That's Forehead Films. Thanks again for listening. Let me know what are your scary movies that you're excited to see. Let me know what the ones that you have seen. People have been hitting me up to check out, like, have you seen like Prince of Darkness? And that's on the list. I got to check it out before Halloween comes, which is in 4 days. In the meantime, let us know what movies you're excited to see, and let us know what movies on your growing list of films that has people asking you the question, you haven't seen that? Later, folks.
Okay, bye.